Location: North Oak Street, 4:45 p.m. A hungry boy, walking home with nothing in his pockets, sees an old woman fall on the sidewalk. Groceries scattered, pride shattered. Without thinking, he kneels beside her, gathering carrots, onions, and hope. What he doesn't know is that this isn't just an elderly neighbor. It's the wife of a billionaire. And the next day, a luxury car pulls up in front of his apartment. Not for someone else. For him. The afternoon sunlight spills across the streets of a quiet Chicago suburb, bathing parked cars and windows in a soft golden hue. The trees lining the sidewalk sway gently in the breeze, their leaves rustling like a whisper. Birds chirp from power lines overhead, and the air carries the faint scent of fresh-cut grass and distant barbecue smoke. Everything feels calm, slow, as if the world itself is taking a breath. 13-year-old Davin walks alone along the sidewalk, his steps dragging. His backpack hangs low, the zipper missing a tooth. His shoes are scuffed, soles thinning, but they carry him forward. School is over, and he is on his way home, though the thought of home brings no comfort. His stomach growls, a hollow reminder that dinner might not be more than toast and tap water tonight. His eyes stay low, watching the sidewalk beneath him like it might offer answers. As he rounds a corner, Davin's pace slows further. Up ahead, he spots an elderly woman stepping unsteadily along the path. She is small, her frame fragile under layers of clothing. In one hand, she grips a cane. In the other, a paper grocery bag. The bag bulges at the seams, heavy with cans and a loaf of bread peeking from the top. Then, without warning, she stumbles. One misstep on a crack in the pavement and her balance shifts. The grocery bag tears open as she falls, cans scattering across the sidewalk with sharp clanks. The woman gasps, her cane slipping from her grip. She lands awkwardly, her hand bracing the concrete, her face tightening in pain. For a moment, everything stops. A car passes but does not slow. A window closes across the street. Davin does not think. He moves. Without a word, he sprints toward her. "Ma'am!" "You okay?" he asks, breath catching as he drops to his knees beside her. The woman winces. Her voice is thin. "My leg. Just give me a moment." Davin gathers the scattered groceries with quick hands. A can rolls toward the gutter, and he snatches it before it disappears. He sets the items back into the torn bag as best he can, then retrieves her cane and gently offers it to her. She tries to rise, but struggles. Davin braces her with one arm, supporting her weight as she pushes herself to her feet. She leans heavily on the cane, trembling slightly. "You didn't have to stop," she says. Davin shrugs. "It looked like you needed help." She studies his face for a moment, then nods. "You remind me of someone. My grandson. He lives far now." Davin picks up the repaired grocery bag and slings it over his shoulder. "Where you headed?" he asks. "Have you ever helped someone simply because it was the right thing to do? Drop your moment below." Davin lives with his aunt and two younger cousins in a small second-floor apartment that always smells faintly of cooking oil and detergent. The space is tight. One hallway connects the bedrooms to the kitchen, and the walls are thin enough to hear arguments from the neighbors. It is not quiet, but Davin has learned how to find stillness in the noise. His room is little more than a mattress on the floor, and a milk crate filled with books and pencils. But taped to the wall are drawings of buildings, some real, most imagined. His mom passed away last year after a long illness. Since then, something in him has gone quieter. Not broken, just quieter. His aunt took him in, already stretched thin, raising her two boys. She works double shifts at a grocery store and cleans offices at night. She does her best. Davin knows that. He sees it in the tired way she smiles and the way she counts out change for gas. Dinner is not always promised. Some nights it is toast and mustard, and Davin calls it a sandwich. Other nights, if his aunt gets off early, she brings home leftovers from the deli where she stocks shelves. Davin never complains. He eats what there is, then washes the dishes and helps his cousins with homework when they ask. School is a blur. He shows up, keeps his head down. He is polite, answers questions when called on. But most of the time, the teachers do not notice him. He is not a troublemaker, not loud, not flashy. One teacher once said, "He's sweet, but invisible." Davin does not argue. He understands. He moves quietly through his days, saving his energy for something more. He dreams of being an architect. It started when he was 8 and saw a documentary about skyscrapers. Now he doodles buildings on the backs of his math tests, draws bridges in the margins of old notebooks, and sketches out tiny city blocks when he gets home. He studies blueprints online when the Wi-Fi works. He watches videos about design and reads about architects who look like him. He wants to build something lasting, something people walk into and feel seen. Sometimes, on his way home from school, Davin walks through neighborhoods where the houses are wide and the grass is perfect, where people keep their doors open and smile at each other across porches, but not at him. He gets side-eyed or ignored. Once, a man yelled from his porch, "Go back where you came from." Davin did not stop walking. He just gripped his sketchbook tighter. He did not yell back. He did not break stride. That is how he has learned to move, quietly, intentionally, with eyes forward and hands steady. It is not easy being a dreamer when the world barely notices you. But Davin keeps dreaming, not because anyone told him to, but because it is the one place where he feels powerful. Every line he draws is a way of saying, "I'm still here." Ever felt like you were trying to matter in a world that barely saw you? Let us talk. Davin crouches low, carefully gathering the scattered groceries one by one. The tomatoes are bruised, their skins split slightly, but he places them gently back into the bag along with the dented cans and a package of crackers. The woman steadies herself on her cane, breathing heavily. Her hands tremble as she tries to brush debris off her skirt. "Let me walk you home," Davin says softly, adjusting the weight of the bag on his arm. The woman blinks at him, a little surprised, then nods. "That'd be lovely, dear." They begin walking slowly down the sidewalk. Her cane clicks against the pavement in rhythm with Davin's careful steps. She coughs several times, sharp and dry, and Davin instinctively steadies her arm, shifting the groceries so he can support her better. They do not speak for a few moments. The wind stirs the leaves overhead, and the sun begins to dip lower in the sky. When they reach a side street lined with tall hedges and wide driveways, Davin slows. They approach a black iron gate that swings open at the press of a button. Beyond it is a long stone path leading to a house, no, a mansion, tucked behind neatly clipped shrubs and flowering trees. The building is massive, with tall windows and pillars at the front door. Davin stops, staring. "You live here?" he asks. "For 42 years, the woman replies with a small chuckle. "Built it with my husband back when the land was just grass and promise. I'm Mrs. Whitley." "Nice to meet you," Davin says, stepping back. He adjusts his hoodie and shifts the bag into her hand. "Hope you feel better soon." "Wait," she says, watching him closely. "You hungry?" Davin hesitates. His eyes flick to the gate, then to the front door. He shrugs, a little. Before she can say more, a neighbor from across the street steps outside. A man with a collared shirt and khakis, watering his bushes, glances their way. He sets down the hose and walks forward a few steps. "Everything all right, Mrs. Whitley," he calls, his voice polite but edged with suspicion. Mrs. Whitley straightens up as much as her back will allow and smiles. "Perfectly," she says, her tone firm. "This young man just saved my groceries, and probably my hip." The man pauses. Then he nods and backs away slowly, returning to his yard. Davin watches him retreat. Then he looks at Mrs. Whitley. She does not look away. "Come in," she says. "You've earned more than a thank you." Davin hesitates again, then follows her through the open gate. As they walk up the stone path, the air feels different, softer, warmer. Inside, the foyer smells of lemon polish and old wood. A tall grandfather clock ticks in the corner. Mrs. Whitley leads him to the kitchen, a wide space filled with light and copper pots. She gestures for him to sit at a long wooden table. Ever done something kind and found yourself unexpectedly blessed? Tell us below. That evening, the light pouring into Mrs. Whitley's kitchen is golden and soft. The room is massive, with high ceilings and marble counters that reflect the glow of antique brass light fixtures. There is a warmth to it, not just from the oven, but from the soft jazz drifting out of the old radio near the window. Davin sits at the long wooden table, hands folded in his lap, glancing at the spotless surfaces and neat rows of spices along the far wall. Mrs. Whitley hums to the tune as she places a bowl of soup in front of him, along with a thick slice of buttered bread and a tall glass of juice. Davin mutters a quiet, "Thank you." He picks up his spoon and eats slowly, carefully. The soup is warm and rich, the bread soft and buttery. Mrs. Whitley watches him for a moment, then smiles. "Don't be shy. There's more where that came from." He looks up. His eyes are wide but steady. "Thank you, ma'am. This is the first real meal I've had in days." Her smile fades into something softer. "You reminded me of my grandson. He passed young, same spirit, same quiet way of seeing people." Davin dips his head. "Sorry to hear that." "Thank you," she says, setting another slice of bread beside his bowl. They sit together as the sun dips lower, shadows stretching across the kitchen tile. When he finishes, Davin reaches for the dishes. "I'll clean up," he offers. Mrs. Whitley raises an eyebrow. "You're a guest." "Still," he says, already standing. He carries his bowl to the sink and begins rinsing it, then scrubs gently with soap and water. His motions are careful, practiced. She leans in the doorway, sipping tea. "You've done this before," she says. Davin nods. "At home, every day." When the dishes are finished and the towel hangs neatly on the oven handle, he thanks her again. "You're welcome any time," she says. He walks out the front door into the cooling evening. The sun is almost gone, leaving streaks of pink and orange across the sky. He keeps his hood up as he turns down the sidewalk, heading back to his side of town. As he passes a group of teens across the street, he hears them laughing. One calls out, loud enough for everyone to hear, "What were you doing in there, houseboy?" Davin does not flinch. He does not look back, but the sting settles in his chest. He walks faster, not because he is scared, but because he knows some people only see what they want to see. Still, in his pocket, he carries the folded napkin Mrs. Whitley had tucked beside his plate. On it, a handwritten note in gentle script. "Thank you for your kindness. Come back any time." That napkin means more than their words ever could. What was a meal you'll never forget? And why? Share the story. Davin wakes up to the familiar sounds of his world. The heater clanks and spits, but never fully warms the room. The pipes groan as someone upstairs runs water. From the hallway, his two cousins bicker over who gets the bathroom first. The floor is cold beneath his feet as he stands, stretching the sleep out of his bones. He rubs his eyes and grabs yesterday's hoodie from the back of a chair. In the kitchen, there's no smell of breakfast. The cupboards are thin, same as the fridge. He pours a glass of water and stares out the window above the sink. That is when he sees it. Parked along the cracked curb is a sleek, black Rolls-Royce Phantom, its paint gleaming under the gray morning light. The car looks completely out of place beside the rusted sedans and dented pickups lining the street. Davin squints. A man steps out of the passenger side. He is tall, wearing a dark suit, tie perfectly knotted. His shoes shine. He walks with purpose toward the building. There is a knock at the door. Davin's aunt pulls the curtain back slightly and peers through. "You in trouble?" she asks quietly. Davin shakes his head. "I don't think so." He opens the door slowly. The suited man gives a polite nod. "You Davin?" Yes." "Mrs. Whitley sent me. She'd like to see you." Davin blinks. "Right now?" "If you are available." His aunt steps behind him, arms crossed. "Who is she?" "A woman I helped yesterday," Davin replies. His aunt studies the man for a beat longer, then looks at Davin. "You sure?" Davin nods. He slips on his sneakers and steps outside. The wind bites at his neck. He zips up his hoodie. From a few steps down, the neighbor from the first floor leans against the railing, sipping coffee. "Bet they think you're stealing something," the neighbor mutters loud enough to hear. Davin hears it. He always does. He does not respond. He just walks. Jaw set, shoulders back. His breath puffs in the cold air. The suited man opens the car door. Davin steps inside. The leather is smooth, the air inside warm and filled with the scent of cedar and lemon. It is the kind of car he has only ever seen in magazines or idling behind tinted windows. As the car pulls away from the curb, Davin leans back. His stomach still aches, but his mind races faster. He does not know what Mrs. Whitley wants, but something in him hopes that maybe this is one of those moments, the kind people talk about long after they happen, the kind that shifts everything, even if just a little. He watches his block disappear behind him through the back window, and he wonders, ever had your whole day change in a moment? Let us know how. The Rolls-Royce glides through the gated entrance of the Whitley estate and stops in the circular driveway. Davin steps out slowly, still unsure whether this is real. The front doors open before he can knock. Mrs. Whitley stands in the foyer, dressed in soft gray and pearls, her cane steady beneath her hand. "Good morning, Davin," she says warmly. "Good morning, ma'am," he replies. She leads him down the hallway to the same kitchen where he had dinner just the evening before. The jazz music is playing again, softer this time. A small tea set waits at the table, steam rising from the pot. "Sit," she says, motioning to a chair. Davin sits, trying not to fidget. He watches her pour tea into delicate cups, then open a large leather portfolio resting beside the tray. Inside are thick pages filled with hand-drawn blueprints, watercolor sketches of houses and office buildings, and photos of construction sites from decades past. "You said you liked buildings," she begins. "My husband owned one of the largest construction firms in Illinois, built hospitals, libraries, schools. He believed in strong structures and stronger communities." Davin leans in, eyes wide. "He always said talent shows itself early," she continues, "and it is up to us to notice." She slides the portfolio toward him. Davin flips through the pages slowly. Each design is beautiful, balanced, alive with vision. He recognizes some of the buildings from city landmarks. He cannot believe he is holding the original drawings. Then Mrs. Whitley pulls out an envelope and places it on the table. She slides it across to him with the same care she gave the tea. "This," she says gently, "is a scholarship. Full tuition to a private middle school focused on architecture and design, and a guaranteed internship next summer at a local architecture firm run by one of my husband's protégés." Devon stares at the envelope, unable to speak. "They've already seen your sketches," she adds. "I showed them the notebook you left in the kitchen last night by accident. They were impressed." His throat tightens. His hands tremble slightly as he picks up the letter. "You earned this, Davin. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you gave something first. Kindness, integrity, the courage to act when no one was watching. That is the kind of character the world needs." He looks up. His voice is barely a whisper. "Thank you." "You are welcome," she replies, "and I hope you say yes." He reads the letter again, then again. He cannot stop the small smile spreading across his face. For the first time in a long while, he feels seen. Not as a boy passing quietly through a world too busy to notice, but as someone who matters, someone with potential. He places the letter back in the envelope, carefully, as if it might break. Then he looks at Mrs. Whitley. "I want to do something with this," he says. "You already are," she answers. They finish their tea. She asks about his favorite architects. He tells her about a bridge he designed in his sketchbook. She laughs softly and says he thinks like her husband did. When he leaves the house an hour later, the sun has climbed higher. The streets look the same, but Davin does not. His steps are quicker, his heart lighter. He tucks the envelope into his backpack like treasure. Ever been offered an opportunity that changed everything? What did you do with it? Davin begins at his new school, in the chill of early fall. The buildings are modern, the walls clean and lined with student artwork. The first day, his palms sweat against the straps of his backpack. He walks through the tall glass doors and feels like an outsider among tailored uniforms and polished shoes. Still, he shows up early. He takes notes in every class. He eats lunch alone for a while, a sketchbook open beside his tray. He listens more than he speaks. Slowly, things begin to shift. By mid-October, his geometry teacher calls him focused. In science, his experiments are meticulous. In art, he sketches structures with such detail that his teacher pins them to the wall. By winter break, he finishes his first building model, a small library made of cardboard, paper, and glue, modeled after the old brick structure down the block from his old school. It takes him 2 weeks of careful cutting and gluing. Mrs. Whitley visits the school once a week. She walks the halls with her cane, offering gentle smiles to the front office staff. She always finds Davin during lunch or after class, checks his notebooks, asks about his projects. "You're building more than structures," she says during one visit. "You're building a future." Her words stay with him. Not everyone at the new school welcomes him. One student makes a snide comment about his thrift store jacket. Another snickers at his off-brand shoes. A teacher once accused him of copying from a classmate, surprised that someone so quiet could also be so accurate. Davin explains his work calmly. He keeps his drawings. He shows his process. The teacher backs off, but the sting lingers. Still, Davin keeps going. He reminds himself daily of why he is there. Not because of what he wears or where he came from, but because someone saw his kindness and believed in his mind. He finishes every assignment early. He starts sketching a park redesign for a class project. He learns drafting software on weekends with the old laptop Mrs. Whitley gave him for his birthday. By spring, he has found his rhythm. And then he does something more. He begins tutoring other kids back in his neighborhood. Every Saturday, he meets them in the community center's back room. Some need help with math. Others just want a quiet place to sit and draw. Davin brings extra pencils, folded worksheets, and snacks when he can. He shows them how to use rulers, how to shade properly, how to take pride in small steps. They listen because he does not talk down to them. He remembers what it felt like to be invisible. One of the younger boys brings him a sketch of a house made from cereal boxes and string. "You think it's good?" the boy asks. Davin studies it seriously. "I think it's a great start. Want help making the roof stronger?" The boy nods eagerly. At night, Davin keeps drawing. His models grow more complex. He studies city maps and tries to imagine where empty lots could bloom into something new. He still keeps in touch with Mrs. Whitley. She sends articles and postcards from places she visits. Sometimes she brings old books her husband once used, filled with worn blueprints and handwritten notes. For inspiration, she says. Davin stores each one carefully on a shelf beside his desk. Everything began with a small moment of kindness on a cracked sidewalk, and now it ripples outward, into classrooms, into homes, into futures still unfolding. Have you ever taken a blessing and passed it on? Let us celebrate those cycles of kindness. The sun shines bright on a wide lot in Southside Chicago, where a stage has been set and folding chairs line the freshly laid pavement. A banner flutters above the crowd, bold letters reading, "A future site of the Davin Brooks Community Center." Davin stands at the podium in a tailored suit, shoulders steady, eyes lifted toward the crowd gathered before him. His voice is calm, but carries easily over the mic. Behind him stands the framework of the new building. Steel beams stretch into the sky, surrounded by scaffolding and hope. This will be a space for after-school tutoring, creative arts, free meals, and mentorship. A place he once dreamed of as a boy, drawing in the margins of his math notebook. In the front row, Mrs. Whitley sits with a soft blanket over her knees and a small corsage pinned to her coat. Time has slowed her movements, but her eyes remain bright. She nods as Davin speaks. "This all started," Davin says, pausing to glance at her, "with a bag of groceries, a scraped knee, and a yes." The crowd laughs gently. Then applause rolls forward like a tide. He looks over the sea of faces, students, families, city officials, old neighbors. He spots his former teacher, who once called him invisible, clapping now with both hands. He sees the younger kids he used to tutor, now taller, standing near the back with matching T-shirts that read, "Future Builders." Davin continues, "Kindness, once given, never stops building. It lays a foundation deeper than concrete, stronger than steel." Flashbulbs pop as he smiles and steps away from the mic. A ribbon waits in front of the main beam. He holds the scissors with steady hands, flanked by Mrs. Whitley and a group of neighborhood kids. The ribbon falls. The crowd cheers, and something inside Davin settles, not as an end, but as a beginning. He walks down from the stage and takes Mrs. Whitley's arm. Together they tour the site. She nods with each room he points out: the tech lab, the open-air garden, the reading nook with beanbags and murals by local artists. She touches the wall near the entrance, where her husband's original sketch of a community library hangs framed. "You remembered," she says softly. "Always," Davin replies. On the way out, he kneels and speaks to a young boy holding a rolled-up set of drawings. You designed something, Devon asks. The boy nods. A place where my grandma can get warm in winter. Davin smiles. Sounds like a strong design. Come back next week. I'll show you how to model it. As the day winds down, people linger. They take photos, shake hands, share stories. Later, alone in his office tucked at the back of the construction trailer, Davin places a worn envelope on the desk. Inside is the napkin Mrs. Whitley once wrote on. The same gentle script. Thank you for your kindness. Come back any time. It reminds him where it all began. Not with money, not with a plan, but with a moment. In a world that once looked past him, in a city where many expected him to fail, Davin's story stands now as a foundation others can build from. Proof that a single act of compassion can outlast generations of doubt. He leans back in his chair, listening to the sounds of saws and hammers outside. The work continues, and he is proud to be part of it. Share this story if you believe small kindness can build lifelong bridges.